follow on Twitter. I will link him up when we get to it. And today we're gonna talk harder, just like we did with Bates last week. And my hope is that we're gonna continue this podcast a little bit down the line. I have a guest for next week, so we got a little bit planned. It looks really good for us, but as of now, I am actually gonna bring in our guest of tonight, and that is Apostrophe. Welcome to the lounge.
Hello, indeed. So I am apostrophe, or I'm on Twitter at Sirkesalo. Um, that's one S in the middle, by the way. Bloodborne Lord Extraordinaire and self-proclaimed bassist, and maybe a trombonist sometimes if I'm drunk enough. Thank you for having me.
All right, so you have been a long time viewer of mine. You're actually one of my first viewers.
Fuck yeah.
To be really like you're really OG.
I
And
guess, yes, you could say that.
like you're really really OG. Like just like you just joined me after in the end of my first Dark Souls run,
Indeed.
which is kind of spectacular because no one was watching that Dark Souls run. And
I wish I could have seen the small one fight, but I didn't. That was a very big shame of mine.
yeah,
Of the
it was kind of cool because the thing was, you know what weapon I used up till Ornstein and Smo?
I get the feeling that your weapon of choice was the broken short sword.
No, I used a lightning +5 short sword. And
Against Ornstein and Smo.
yeah, that was the weapon I went up to them first. Yes.
Hmm.
I completed the rest of the game with that sword.
Hmm.
And
Well, I mean, more power to you.
more infuriating to me. I did it up to then, and then I realized I needed another sword, so I created a raw broadsword. And the raw broadsword was what I beat Ornstein and Smough with.
Hmm.
It's kind of ridiculous, really, but it's like so when I play my build today that I play right now, is like I never used magic in a Dark Souls game. I used miracles in Dark Souls 2 because let's face it, it was ridiculously easy. But that's because that game is fucking horrible, and so I never used spells or anything.
Right, right.
So in Dark Souls 2, abusing miracles was way easier than in Dark Souls 1. And now I'm gonna say that Dark Souls
Exodus.
1, yeah,
Sorry, I don't know where that came from. I apologize for my antics.
yeah, I'm just gonna say that in Dark Souls 2, miracles was fucking OP, but in Dark Souls 1, it was less OP, but it was still the main go-to.
Right,
So
right.
it was like, yeah, so Dark Souls 2 made it more ridiculous, in which I played a cleric wielding a two-handed anvil,
Oh,
and
right, yeah,
yeah,
that one. Anvil on a stick. I remember
yeah,
that.
and it was ridiculously good. It was, but Dark Souls 2 is sucks compared to the other ones. That's why it was such a good combo. You-
Yeah, I've noticed. I don't. I mean, it's been a long time goal of mine to actually get to Dark Souls 1, but I don't think I'd ever actually play 2 because just fighting the same enemy type, like, oh yeah, this guy has two legs and armor. It just the thought of that doesn't
uh,
get like get to me at
yeah,
all.
like like my problem with Dark Souls 2 is usually dudes in armor. It's like
Mm,
there's no fun with it, and every boss is that you have your occasional different boss, right? Like you have your occasional variant
right. Yeah.
boss. Like you have those three undead gods, like the three undead kings, and you have the chariot of the undead or whatever. But most of the bosses are dudes in armor. But the main gripe for me is the world of Dark Souls 2 because it's not interconnected in the same way as Dark Souls 1. Like the reason I like Dark Souls 1 is because I can get from point A to point Z like really easy because the game is
Mm,
built like with shortcuts.
mm,
Like I can get from anywhere to anywhere really quick. In Dark Souls
mm,
2, these shortcuts make no sense because first of all, when you go down to the Iron Keep, which is hell, you go on an elevator that goes up.
right.
Like I understand that that is not a big thing, but like that is a detail, you know. That is a
Mm,
detail that the regular game wouldn't have, you know.
right.
Like it should
I
go
think
down.
just personally in Dark Souls 2, what I've seen at least, don't quote me on this, but the biggest problem is the apparent absence of wolf girls going awu, unlike, let's say, Bloodborne.
Yeah, yeah, I would agree with you. Let's say, Tara, when can we expect you vlogging in front of a dead body? Well, you know what? I have too much respect for people, so I'm not gonna Logan Paul you. Uh, yeah, but like the problem with Dark Souls 2 is not only world building. It's atmospheric as well.
Mm, yeah.
Like character building and all that. I kind of like the idea that Dark Souls 2 goes for, but in the end, it doesn't feel the same. It's not. It's not. You don't have the panic.
In the end, the game doesn't even matter.
No, in the end, the game doesn't matter. But you don't have the no, it doesn't. That is the eventual end of it because it doesn't have the panic. It doesn't have the unspeakable dread dropped on you.
Right.
You never feel like the world is crumbling around you.
Mm,
Like and like Dark Souls 1 has this really great thing. It's where you go from the undead asylum to the Firelight Shrine, and you realize there between there and there is nothing. Like there is no one to talk to you. And the
mm,
first person you get to talk to is the crestfallen knight. And all he has to say is someone like with a severe clinical depression. It's like the first person you talk to is like, oh, it's all lost. We're all dead now. Unless someone rings both bells of awakening, we're all gone. We're all gonna turn hollow. And you're like, all right, this is what? Is it 50 minutes into the game? All right, great. Yeah, yay. You know.
hey, only thing you need to do is ring the bells. Am I right?
Yeah, and in Dark Souls 2, you don't have that. You go through the witch, the Bella. I don't remember what it's called. It's called Bellatrix. Bellatrix is a witch in Harry Potter, isn't it? Like, let's call it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
call it the Bellatrix Cove, and you just talk to the what do you call it? The bonfire, like the linking of the fire bitches, and they're
Right.
like they laugh at you, and then you run off from there, and then you end up in Majula, and Majula is a safe place, and
Right.
then you just do shit. You don't go there and you meet up with the most fucking depressing motherfucker in the world. Like in Dark Souls 1, you go right into crippling depression. That's the point of it. That's the point of it. You go, so, all right, I'm gonna start a game, and the first person you meet has a crippling depression and has given himself into the undead curse. He's just like, yeah, no, you know what? I'm just waiting to be hollow. You know what? I'm just gonna wait for it. You know, you should
That that
too.
that's so much like me when I'm trying to get through with my assignments and final thesis. I've given up. Please, can I be in coma already?
Yeah, no, I get you, but that's the thing with Dark Souls. What Dark Souls 2 missed was that I think they missed that introduction a little bit because they
Right.
didn't get
Yeah.
that crippling depression. That motherfucker sets you down so many levels. Like the first thing you do is you beat the asylum demon, and then you get flown to Fighting Shrine. And
Right.
then you feel like, oh shit, I beat this demon, I'm awesome. And then you meet these crippling, depressing motherfucker, and he's telling you like, no, it's no hope. Like, go fuck yourself. Everything is dead. We're all dead. We're all gonna die. And you're like, oh shit. It's like,
Right.
no,
How many
it's,
tries did he get? Like, how many tries did it, like take me to beat that fucking first tutorial boss? Like 5 or 6?
first time around, you mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, it took 4 times, I think, four or 5 times.
Oh, not that bad. Because I think I beat the cleric beast first time when I was using the sword cleaver after giving up with the whip.
Oh yeah, but in Bloodborne, the cleric beast, I beat that at the third time, I think.
Right.
But I would say that I am very random when it comes to bosses because it very much depends on how the boss is. So I
Yeah.
have a very certain play style that
Mm,
like adds to difficulty. I'm gonna say
right.
adds to difficulty rather than reduce because it's because I feel like there is a lot more bosses that my playstyle adds to the difficulty.
Right. Wait, did you ever beat Logarius?
Yeah, yeah, I did.
Right.
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
Yeah. But that is much obliged to that I used the double barrel pistol
Right.
because that pistol saved my life so
I,
many
I,
times.
I I did it with the hunter's pistol. Get on my level. Like no guts, no glory. That was my strategy for that guy. Like fuck you. I'll parry you a million times in the fight. It doesn't matter if I can't get the visceral every
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Yeah, but it much to the double barrel because I
Right.
went with that one, and that one saved my life when it comes to Lugaries.
Right. I
But,
mean,
no, because
my last try. I don't think I was half health at least. I didn't have any vials. Um, I might have had 4 or 3 bullets left.
yeah.
So when I saw that he had like how much health, like just like 3 or 4 or 5 hits left in him, I just went for it. Like, just fucking die.
Ah, the greed,
just,
the greed.
yeah, die before I die. Like I was in pieces at that point, so it didn't even matter.
Yeah, yeah, no,
I was gonna go farm anyway, but
yeah,
it paid
no.
off.
Yeah, I mean the greed is something that stuck with me. I want to say hello to you, Bishamon. I love you, brother. Welcome to the chat. Well, no, the thing with Logaris, no, the thing with parrying in Bloodborne overall,
Yeah.
like is I could because I parried down Gascoigne and
Ooh.
I beat him that way. But one thing to consider is I was having the hunter's axe, so it was spin to
Right.
win.
Yeah.
Uh, I would call it spin to win because it was a pretty useful tactic. I
Right.
gotta say, but when I fought bosses, like
I've
so
always just cheesed that guy with a music box, like,
yeah, okay, I never
and then just spammed all Molotovs in the beast
yeah,
form. I just spammed
I
all my Molotovs on it.
yeah, I used the music box on New Game Plus. I didn't do that on the first playthrough. So what I did was I had a double barrel pistol, and what I realized was that you had like 0.2 extra seconds of window with it because
Oh,
you had two bullets.
right. Yeah.
So you get a slight extra window for getting, the visceral attack,
Yeah.
and uh, and that helped me with Lugarius. I cannot tell you how much it helped me. Fuck that boss. That guy can go fuck itself because holy shit, when he puts down that sword, and then you have to shoot down that sword because he shoots swords at you, and then you had to reload, and then you shoot at him, and then you go up and fucking decapitate the guy, and it's like it's the best feeling in the world. Like
You know what? You know what's even best though? He puts that sword down. You roll in after the shockwave, and then he swings and destroys his own sword because he's a stupid cunt.
yeah, okay, right. So yeah, that is a little bit better feel. but I had a feel because I know you asked me about Dark Beast Parl, and you were like, "How
Right.
the fuck do you beat that?" And I was
Oh,
like, when I started fighting that guy, I was like, "How the fuck do you beat that?" And it turns out that they patched him up. Like in the
oh.
beginning, like when you search the internet, right? So you get some
Mm.
tips. Those tips are don't listen to them because they are to an old patch.
Sure. I mean, I wouldn't know. The next try, I gave up on the Holy Blade. As good
Yeah,
as it
okay,
is,
right.
still, I gave up on it. I took the Soul Cleaver, just a
Yeah,
bag of
no,
beast blood
no,
pellets, and oh, okay, he staggers when you kill his feet.
yeah, okay, yeah, no. It was like that because I had a problem defeating him, and I started searching the night, and it appears that they patched. Excuse me, they patched him to be more aggressive.
Mm.
So the first guides to him are, oh no, just hit his feet. It's super easy. Just hit his feet and be, within him. And like, nah, that doesn't work because. And then I search around, and it appears that they upped him because he
Huh.
wasn't hard enough in the original game. So all the
Huh.
tips you read is like they are all like, he's super easy. He's super easy. Just hit his bones, and it's like my Parl was aggressive as a motherfucker. Like there was not a single time I could breathe,
Yeah.
and like. And when I was reading those tips, I was like, "What boss are you fighting? This is not the same guy." Like really.
Right.
And so eventually I beat him, and I was like, "Holy fuck, you guys are lying!" And then I found one Reddit post on the Bloodborne forum that was like, "All right, so I've replayed the game, and Parl is up, dude. Like he's patched up. He was
Right.
patched. It wasn't notified in any patch, but he's way more aggressive now than he was when the game released. That is why." It seems like Parl is much more difficult than for other players. Like because
I mean,
other players,
I don't know, because I found that he gets really passive once you actually get below him and roll through the first shockwave. Then he's just like, "Oh well, I can't see you."
yeah,
Well,
okay, right.
shit.
So yeah, but that might be a detection issue, uh, for the boss. Trying to detect you. But that was not my experience. My experience was Parl is like on ADHD and amphetamines. Like this guy doesn't give a fuck. I didn't get a moment to breathe, and it was like, oh shit, he's going for me, and it's like the moment I entered the door, he was over me, and I was like, holy shit, how do I even do this? And they're like, and every other person forums I read about was like, nah, it's really easy. You just hit the feet. And I was like, how do you do that? Because holy fuck. And then there was this one post that said Parl is way harder now than the first time I played him. I was
Right.
like,
Yeah.
because it's been patched, and I think I don't think he's been patched like more dangerous. I think they just fixed his AI.
Maybe.
Like you
Did
understand?
you know that? Right. Did you know that Paul is actually body of that guy who made Tinnitus, and that guy had actually experimented on Paul, and that's why he's there. Like he just let his body like, oh shit, apparently I succeeded in my test. Well, shit, can't have this around here. Let's just lock him up here and hope that he burns with the rest of the city, which he didn't. But you know,
Yeah, but that's kind of what I want to talk about. I mean, you played Bloodborne. You have all the Bloodborne history of horrors, and Bloodborne is the perfect way for anyone into cosmic horrors, right?
yeah, sure.
And I mean, you like the Bloodborne lore, the way
Oh
that
yeah.
the Healing Church uses the blood of the old ones in order to, firstly, they try to cure the scourge of the beast, but it eventually got worse with the blood.
I
And
mean, actually, they tried to cure the ashen blood, and the curing of the ashen blood led to the scourge of the
yeah,
beast.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, that is the more correct one. And then because they realized that the scourge of the beast weren't going anywhere. They created a sub race called that they call the hunters. Well, the hunters of the church or the hunters of the workshop.
Yep.
I think the hunters of the church was first, which was a group basically paladins, which
Right.
was going around and killing beasts. But they suddenly realized they needed more divine beings, which is the hunters of the workshop, because hunters
Mm.
of the workshop are not human. They are beings of another plane,
Sure.
sort of, because they're not living in the same dream. They are invading another dream, another nightmare. Like, all right, so this gets very complex.
I guess, but only after something happened with the whole Bergenworth gang and
Yes,
German.
yeah, exactly.
Until after that, I don't think there was actually a dream at all. But you know, I guess someone got pissed at someone, and they decided, okay, well, this is not gonna happen like this. Like, I won't let you disrespect my uh,
Authority.
fellow great ones. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm just gonna put you in the stream and um kill this baby, please, and I'll maybe go. Maybe.
Yeah, but something that we can come to terms with is that whether or not hunters from birth are something else, they become
Mm,
something else
yeah.
because they are all connected to the hunter's dream. They,
Mm,
in one way or another, even if they had another life before it, it doesn't matter because when they are spawned into the hunter's dream, they become hunters. And they become hunters of the workshop, and whatever they did before that doesn't really matter.
right.
And
Though
bec-
there are multiple references of hunters coming from different lands. So I
Yeah,
guess that
yeah.
would be
There are. But we're gonna get into that. We are gonna get into that. Don't worry. Because the hunters of the workshop, especially the hunter you are, don't have a specific background,
mm,
and you are all always when you die, you respawn into this hunter's dream.
mm,
It means that you're not a human. You're not dying.
yeah,
Like you are eternal, in a way.
mm,
And I like that idea, but I I also feel like wouldn't it be terrifying? Like isn't that the nightmare of Bloodborne that you always had to relive the fucking worst because you eventually
yeah.
always die.
I mean, I guess
It's not
that's why.
it's not like you die painless.
Yeah.
And yeah,
I mean, I assume that's why Gehrman has been there for as long as he has, because he knows all about it, and he just like, sorry, dude, I could let you maybe fight it out with that fucking with Flora or the Moon Prison, but
yeah.
no, sorry, I'm just gonna let you wake up to hangover now. So see you if I see you.
Yeah, but it kind of has the same idea as Dark Souls has, like
Mm,
that you eventually go hollow. Like you can
mm,
die 20 times before you go hollow,
yeah,
but eventually you go hollow. But
yeah,
every time you die, you lose sanity, and every
mm,
time you die, you become someone else and someone that you're not from the beginning. You know,
yeah,
you have characters that you meet in Dark Souls that are going hollow, and they are
mm,
not the same when you first meet them and when the last time you meet them, which is usually when you have to kill them because they
yeah,
are going hollow. And if we take that into Bloodborne and having like, hey Bates, how you doing? And you take like that the hunters maybe not go hollow,
mm,
but I think like I mean what the hunters experience is more of the getting traumatized.
yeah, for
Like
sure. But like German, like when we meet him for the first time, like, he doesn't remember who he is. Like, he's had this conversation. It's pretty. It's, I think it's fair to assume that he always has the same dialogue with any other hunter that comes through, but he still doesn't remember his own name. So it must be thousands or hundreds of years at least when he first came into the dream the first time.
yeah, and since we are, I would say that our player, the player we play, is an ethereal hunter. Like he's not a human.
Mm,
I wouldn't classify the hunter you play as human because he's not dying. He is
yeah,
respawned.
I mean, one thing, pretty clear evidence that he's not a human is when you do the visceral attack and pay attention to the right hand. It's I wouldn't qualify that as human.
No, no, exactly. But as you said there were other hunters, and this is what I wanted to get at. Wait a minute, my headphones plugged out.
Hmm.
Is that I think there was a time when hunters wasn't the one hunter you are, but actually just people.
Yeah, that's why they needed so many of them.
Yeah, so there are these clans. You have the what are called the ones with the cannon.
Uh, Powder kegs, yeah.
Yeah, powder keg. Like I think that
They were actually the first. Did you know that the DLC says that?
yeah, they were the first hunters, and I don't think that hunters in general are supernatural.
Mm,
Like, but I think there are supernatural hunters, like you are one, and
mm.
I think that Aileen the Crow is a supernatural hunter.
I put it like she used to be, because the
Yeah. Okay.
hunters
All
team
right. Yeah.
sustains the hunters.
Yeah.
Sustain-
She used to be, but then she refused. Then she started to hunt other hunters, and then she kind of lost that uh, supernatural thing, maybe.
or maybe she got too close to revealing something, or
Yeah. Maybe
maybe
something like
she
that.
did what Moon Persons
I
wanted her to do, and that's why German was like, "Okay, time for you to get your head cut off." But it's
Yeah.
funny because she never actually says that German is gonna decapitate you, right? You do
Yeah.
know that?
Yeah, I noticed that. I like Eileen because she's so, brutally honest. She's
Yeah.
like a hunter got a hunt. And it's like all of that. It's always like she's really, I like her character because she's really aware of her reality. Like
Yeah.
she knows you are above her.
Yeah.
You know, she
She doesn't have any more dreams left,
yeah
or
she
how does
tells
she
you
put it?
she tells you that she doesn't dream anymore, and you like she knows you dream,
Mm.
and she always goes with that, like that's her thing, and there's like, and she's like, since I don't dream anymore, I gotta do it, you know. And then you're like, no, I can do it. And she's like, no, I can do it because I don't dream anymore. It's time for me to end whatever I started. And then you're like, no, don't do that. I like you. And then she does it anyway. And then you find her dead at the stairs or dying at the stairs. But like, she,
Do you actually think she ever dies? Because she does say that she does have enough healing blood to get through this, through
yeah,
her injuries.
I think she died. I think that is a white lie.
Right.
I think that is a white lie because she knows that you are strong. And I think that she believes in you, which is a weird way because FromSoft never really throws you a bone, you know. But I think it's a weird way to tell you that she believes in you
Mm.
and that she dies, and but
Right.
she
Yeah.
doesn't want you to see it, so she wants you to, go on.
Mm.
So yeah, I think she dies, but I think
Have you ever
also.
have you ever actually revisited the stairs?
Yeah, I have, but I think my memory is vague because I wore her outfit at the end, so I guess I did. I mean, I I don't remember, to be honest now.
Mm.
But I think she died, and the reason I think she died is because she said she stopped dreaming.
Mm.
Like I
Yeah.
think that is a major point, and not just that. I think she was one of us, but then she stopped dreaming because whatever German had in place for her, and
Mm.
then she died. And I think she's happy dying. That is
Yeah.
that is why I think she tells us to just, not help her. It's
Mm.
because I think she's happy dying.
Yeah.
I think she wants to die, and and then you fight her last battle. You do in the cathedral. Fuck that battle, by the way. That
I'm still haven't revisited. I've been I actually started a Dex build with the cane, because
all
that's
right.
how much I hate the fight. I just much rather start a new playthrough than is fucking go through my whole playthrough even
No,
once
yeah,
more.
no. I killed him with a hunter's axe. It took a while. I can tell you that. Fuck that
How
fight.
many days? How many days?
It took 2 streams, which is
Oh shit!
which is a lot of time. But
Um,
to be fair, we went back to a nightmare and did some other stuff during that because I as a person was going insane over this fight
right.
because it was
Yeah.
so fucking horribly
Yeah.
designed.
It's just cheap. It's not even a fight. It's just lol. Here's this additional content. See if you can beat this guy a lot.
Yeah, it's not a lot of skill. It's just can you abuse this game as much as possible, and it eventually turned out yes I can. It's like that is the fight. I promise you. It's like can you abuse this game? If you can, you will win this fight. It's like
Oh
I
shit!
hate it.
No, cut out. Okay, no.
Yeah, no, I hate that fight. But all right, so if we talk Bloodborne, while we're talking Bloodborne, we might as well talk a little bit of Lovecraftian horror because
Oh,
well,
before I go to
yeah,
that, I let me just mention that the 31st of this month will have like an actual blood moon, the first one since like 150 years. So I strongly recommend checking that out.
absolutely. So Blood Moon, the 31st of January.
Hmm. Yeah,
Are we gonna be? Is it gonna be visible in Scandinavia?
should be worldwide. Yeah.
Yeah, all right. Cool.
This particular alignment hasn't happened in 150 years because it's a super blue moon and a
Sweet.
blood moon at the same time.
I think
I think those are the
it's the pyramid aliens. They are coming for us.
yeah, the pyramid aliens.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No, but
babies will cry next Tuesday.
no, but I was thinking since we're talking Bloodborne and since we are talking blood related stuff and Bloodborne is very heavily influenced by cosmic horror and
Yeah.
especially H.P. Lovecraft and
Mm,
contrary to Dark Souls,
mm,
Bloodborne is very heavy influenced by
yeah.
Lovecraft. Uh,
I also like how basically because there's this whole theme with beasthood and insight, like those two categories, like uh are like the opposites, I guess, if
yeah,
that makes sense. Like insight, you could argue is closer to insanity
yeah,
or wisdom.
yeah,
Bit of
yeah.
both. So when you have enough insight, you can actually see the tentacle creatures with excuse my lack of knowledge in the Lovecraftian horror, but I think that's pretty exact
Yeah,
what's
no,
going on
that
in
is that
that
is
lore.
exactly what insight is. I always saw when I played Bloodborne, I always saw insight as insanity.
Mm.
Because the closer to insanity you get, the more
Mm.
you understand. But the
Mm.
more you
Yeah.
understand,
Mm.
the more crazy you get.
Right.
It's
It
like
also might be because uh I always saw it like going by the opposite theory of beasthood and insight, if the blood actually does come from great ones, if you don't have the insight to support their blood, that will just turn you into a monster, and too much insight will make you insane or create frenzy if you don't have their blood.
yeah,
If that,
but I also what will on Lovecraft. Lovecraft was very when he wrote about old ones or
right? Yeah,
the great old ones,
yeah.
which argues, which I say, when I played Bloodborne, I always argued that the old ones you fight in Bloodborne, like Abratus
Mm.
and stuff like that they aren't actually the great ones. I think there are the minions
Hmm.
because the
I mean,
reason.
they are. Yeah.
Yeah,
You
okay,
go
all
on.
right. So the reason I think that is because the great old ones are the creation of the world. You can
Right.
fight them. Like
Mm.
you can fight their avatars, or you can fight their minions. But I
Mm.
don't believe you can fight the great old ones because they are basically the creation of the universe. You got
Mm.
if you got like if you go to Lovecraft, you got like Cthulhu. You can
Mm.
fight Cthulhu because he is not a creation of the world. He is a god that is lesser than the great old ones. And,
Right.
and like you can fight Cthulhu, you can fight Dagon, you can fight, but you can't fight. You can't fight Shub Niggurath. You can't fight like all these other gods. Sorry, the names escapes me right now. Just because
Right.
I was gonna name them. But you can fight them because they are a part of creation. So I think they
Right.
are. So like Ebraitis, I think she's more of a creation more closely to Cthulhu than a creation of the actual great old ones. Like
Uh, I mean, because Ebrietas and a couple other ones are always referred to as the left behind great
yeah,
ones. So that might mean that their dream version of them like got left behind and not their actual body, because we actually kill two great ones. Actually kill two great ones during the whole game, and that's the moon prisons if you get there, and the Mergo.
yeah, no, yeah, that's true. That's true.
But
Yeah,
those
all
are
right.
their
Yeah, all right. See,
actual bodies that lie, just happen to lie in those different planes of existence. But when it comes to Briatus, that's just one of her. I'll just use the word avatar since you went there.
yeah, I'm gonna use the word avatar because it's what I think that the great old ones would, when
Mm,
they present
yeah.
themselves to humans, would use an avatar to not make humans go insane. Like
Yeah.
you have an example of now it's not a Lovecraft story, but you got when Yellow King Huster shows himself to subjects of humanity. He doesn't show his true form
Mm,
because that would create the people to go insane. To go insane. Sorry,
mm. No
but
problem.
uh, but yeah, as you said, if Abratus is just a image of herself rather than herself, by
Mm,
by as she is herself. But I mean, the moon presence. If you beat them, but here's the thing. I'm starting to think. I thought about this a few days ago because I thought about Bloodborne and how it works. And if you beat the moon presence, you become this sludge
mm.
because you transcends or whatever.
Yeah.
Because yeah, but I was thinking like, are we sure we transcend? Aren't we caught in our own nightmare? Because throughout the game, you're always reminded that this is your nightmare.
Mm, yeah.
It's
So maybe
like
it's not even the moon presence's nightmare. Maybe it's the doll's nightmare, and she just apparently is a great one this all of this time, and takes you as her surrogate.
wouldn't that make some sort of sense though? Because
I've heard theories like it. Yes.
because
Maybe
because
maybe she or he is Odin, and that's why.
because I always thought it because it's always like they're not telling you something else. They're always telling
Yep.
you this is your nightmare. Lady Maria tells you that, doesn't she?
Right.
Like this is your nightmare. Like and
Maybe.
like yeah, that might be. I'm thinking that it might be a translation, a lost in translation.
Mm.
Like it might be a translation error
Mm.
from Japanese,
Yeah.
because if that is it, I'm not even sure that Bloodborne is real. Do you get
Yeah.
me? But if we were to take Yarnum as real, then it can't. Then their comments can't be true because you can't fight that fight in an imaginary world. Like
Mm.
you can't win in an imaginary world. It doesn't make sense.
Mm.
Like you know how Dark Souls do the whole circle of life thing. Like
Yeah.
yeah, no, it's like one person lit the flame, and
Mm.
then the flame burns, and then it fades out. And
Mm.
always in Dark Souls is that you start playing when the flame starts to fade.
Mm.
That is why the world is in shit. It's like the eternal flame is fading. Everyone is turning hollow. The world is turning to fuck. And that is where you come in. And you go in, and you go in, you say the day, you lit the flame, and the world goes another circle. That's how Dark Souls work. Like, but they fixed that in Dark Souls 3 to a definite end, which is the worst fucking thing that I have seen, but it's also the best. Do you know what they did?
I'm not quite sure.
Dark Souls 3 as a base game lets you relit the flame, right?
Mm.
So as a base game, it was like, oh yeah, it's just another Dark Souls game. Right? Then you get the DLC, and you do the DLC, the Ringed City,
Mm.
and you go into the Ringed City. The first thing you see is all the worlds you have seen in previous games is falling down the abyss. You can see that, like you can literally see Firelink Shrine. Like they have,
Right.
it's so detailed. You see them like falling off the edge of the world, so to speak.
Right.
And the end of that DLC is a boss. And then you kill that boss. And you know what happens after that?
What happens after that?
Nothing. Nothing. There's not a cutscene. There is nothing. All you see is nothing. And you get to control your character, and there is nothing. It's just the game ends in nothing. It's the perfect ending for Dark Souls. It just ends in nothing.
Oh, do you mean the Gale fight?
Yeah, it ends in nothing.
Oh, but have you ever went back to give the girl who paints the next world? Have you ever went back to give the blood of the dark soul to her?
No, I haven't. But
Oh,
the thing is, the ending of the game is nothing. Like
right,
that what you're referring to is doing an extra thing to the game.
right,
But the
yeah,
ending of the game is nothing. It's
right,
it's just a dying world, and you can do nothing about it,
hmm,
and it's
right,
dying. And I love it, and I also hate it because it's the perfect ending, but it's also depressing as fuck.
right,
But I kind of love it because after that, I kind of see that I don't want them to make a Dark Souls 4
yeah,
because it's just that ending left me like I beat him, and then it's like nothing, and I was like, all right, yeah, no, this is Dark Souls. It's like I got nothing else, and I felt it was perfect, and the same I felt about Bloodborne. Really, was
mm,
that the ending of it is perfect. And I was like, if you're gonna do a continuation of Bloodborne, it's gotta be
yeah,
not Yarnum, and it's gotta be a human hunter.
Yeah, and I really don't think that they're gonna continue with Bloodborne ever,
No, I don't
ever.
think so. I think they will connect to it, but not continue it because Bloodborne is so specific that it's really hard to do anything with it after the ending of
Mm,
it. Like it's so perfect in that sense.
yeah.
Uh, but thinking of that, I mean, fuck, you have a lot of interest. You listen to a lot of music and stuff like that. Do you have you seen any horror movies this year that is interesting to you?
Sorry, you cut out a bit there. What'd
All
you
right.
say?
Have you seen any horror movies or anything that is interesting to you this year? Well,
I
we
mean, I
we we count last year as well. Now speaking.
right. So let's say it like this. The last couple of years have been I very much I guess expanded my uh horror movie consumption in general from 1 to 2 flicks. I mean, from 0 flicks a year from to 1 to 2 flicks a year.
Yeah.
I don't know how, I don't know how much that is, but
It's all right. It's all right. Don't
I
worry.
mean, anyway, I did see this one film called Bodum that it's about some sort of it connects to the whole weird killings that happened near the Lake Bodom in Finland in the around 80s or so.
Yeah. I know the case. I haven't seen the movie, but I know the
It's
case.
it's it's a pretty decent movie. Then also I did see the new Ring flick.
Oh god.
Yeah, but that's basically what I've seen considering horror movies.
About the new Ring flick. By the way, like, can you imagine that they missed the opportunity to have her appear from the cell phone? Like, I was like, can't she
Yeah,
appear from the cell phone? Come on.
yeah.
Like,
No,
wouldn't
no,
that have been
the cell phone is too small. You know,
No,
she
shut it.
can't
No,
do
come
that.
on. She
I
can
mean,
call.
anyway, it would have been great if she would have just, pushed her head through the cell phone screen and then get stuck. Like, holy shit, I can't go back at all forward. What do I do? But that's some smooth real material.
No, I was thinking about that, but anyway, no, there's been some great horror last year. I'm looking forward to this year, but I mean, yeah, I know that you don't watch too much horror, which is why we talk a lot about Lovecraftian horror
Right.
here. Since you played Bloodborne, you got a little bit understanding of how that works,
Yeah.
which is quintessential. Like if you ignore that fact, you don't get much out of Bloodborne, don't you?
Yeah.
Like you can't just. But there is this like Lovecraft is a bit of a two-edged sword for me because I love Lovecraft, but I always I'm still working. I'm gonna work on the video on the controversials of Lovecraft because I think that is important,
Right.
but also uh, the self-esteem of the author is really important when we talk about Lovecraft. So
Yeah.
there is this short story of Lovecraft which is called, I think it's called The Monster. It's
Huh.
like really short. It's only like 10 pages or something, but it's about this monster that wakes up and he goes out in the real world and everyone is scared of him, and he doesn't
Mm.
understand why. And then he
Right.
goes back into his cave and he sees a mirror and he sees himself as this grotesque monster, and he realizes why everyone is afraid of him, and that is where the novel ends. And I'm always
Right.
like, that is how Lovecraft saw himself. It's like
Mm.
he wrote a novel. It's a really short one. It was an unpublished one, so it
Mm.
was found after his death.
Yeah.
But it's kind of clear that not only was Lovecraft a raging racist, he was kind of self-hating as well. Like
Right.
he was like what can you call it? Like he was a perfection of hate. Really, he
Yeah.
hated everyone. He especially hated black people, but
Right.
that was because he found them inferior as a race. The rest of the people he hated not because of the race, but because of other things like capitalism and stuff like that. And he hated himself because he was butt ugly, according to
Mm.
himself. I'm not gonna quote him on that, but I mean, that was what he said. But that has to do with his growing up. But something that always stuck with me was he always said that the greatest fear, the, like the oldest fear, is the fear of the unknown,
Mm. Yeah.
and that is always true, which is what all his novels is based upon.
Mm.
And I always feel like I like. Do you ever believe that? I always say like it's really hard to make a movie out of this because it's such a such a what are you gonna say like it's such a big subject.
Mm.
Like how are you gonna bring it in?
Yeah.
I really
I mean,
yeah.
I like how he was a racist, but he also he had that quote, but he didn't seem to have that kind of you know, self-reflection skills that he could have seen the discrepancy in saying that.
Yeah, I mean that is what I also always thought. Like he said that thing, but he didn't have the introspection to actually realize what he was saying, because whatever he felt was exactly what what he put out as a quote.
Yeah.
Like no, he didn't see it as that. But afterwards, now that we look at his work, we can actually see it. Like we
Mm.
can see it. Like he's going to Innsmouth in Shadow over Innsmouth, and there's like, what is the difference between him seeing fish people and black people? We don't actually know. The only thing we know is that he did differentiate them, but he felt the
Mm.
same about them because
Right.
because we don't know that because he doesn't write that in the novel, but according to his letters, we can tell that he felt the same about black people as he felt about the inhabitants of Innsmouth in the novel.
Yeah.
And that is like, holy shit, dude. Like, holy shit. Yeah, I know racist people, but dude. And yeah, yeah, that's not fun. Like, it's like, of course it is, but I always and I met a lot of Lovecraft readers that's like, well, we shouldn't, maybe that's not interesting, but I kind of think it is interesting because it
Mm.
shows, as you said, a lack of introspection. Uh, because it's like all his novels is about the fear of the unknown, and
Mm.
he has a gargantuan fear of black people.
Yeah.
Like, and that is not shown in his novels. So if these people that say we shouldn't discuss it haven't read his letters, I can sort of excuse them. Sort of. That
Right.
is, if they willfully ignored some parts of his novels, like in Reanimator, when he calls a black man's body basically a monkey. And and it's like, I always see that as an interesting aspect, and I, for one, that love his work. I would never deny these claims because it would be irresponsible of me to do it.
Right.
And at the same time, I can still enjoy his work because they are fantastical.
Mm.
But at the same time, I started wondering if he wrote them that fantastical just because he thought of race that fantastical, like
Right.
because all the alien races, like take Cthulhu. Cthulhu is a star spawn, and the
Mm.
star spawn is an intergalactic race.
Right.
Like, and everything is a race. Like everything, when you go into depth of it, it's all of a race, and it makes humankind unsignificable. But
Right.
it's always like, all right, so it's a race, it's a race, it's a race. It's never a species, it's a race. And I started to think like maybe he thought a little bit too hard on that. Like I just like that he in Reanimator, totally unrelated, just mentions that a black man's body looks like a monkey. Like that is unrelated. He sees a black man's body in a morgue, and he just
Right.
adds like it looked like a monkey, and I'm like, hey, dude, can't, you can't do that, but he could. Uh, but but the thing I realized was that I read other people's letters around the 30s about Lovecraft, and something that struck me was that Lovecraft was seen as obscenely racist by other people at that time. Do you know how racist you have to be obscenely racist during the 20s?
Yeah.
Like you have to be some kind of a fuckwad to be racist during the like. I mean, everyone was racist then. Like
Uh,
everyone was. Like you can't like everyone was. You know, and even then he was seen as extremely racist. He
mm.
by his letter pals and stuff like that. He was seen as extremely racist, and that is like he maybe he was, you know, maybe he was, maybe maybe he was, you know, but it was like, and he never admitted to it, and he wrote several political letters as well, which are kind of interesting. He didn't like either Democrats or Republicans, and of course he didn't like them. Uh, he said that the Democrat wasn't particular enough, which is kind of interesting considering that the Democrats founded the KKK. And
Mm.
I'm like, how much particular can you get?
Yeah. Sounds just like a huge mess to me. Uh,
I feel like it's a lonely person that is very scared of the world, and
yeah.
he
I
was.
mean, he died lonely and scared of the world.
He died lonely and scared as well. So you know, you always get that too. Come on with it. It's like, did they have any relatives? No. His work is free domain now, so no, he didn't have any relatives. He died scared and alone, and it's like I always think of that,
Damn.
and I think it's depressing. But then I think he wasn't like I like him because I like his works, but as a person, he was fucking horrible.
Yeah.
Like it's like he wrote good. He wrote decent, I should say. He wasn't a perfect writer. Um, He wrote good, but he as a person, he was fucking horrible. Like if he was alive today, I don't know if anyone would ever talk to him. Like
Hmm.
he had a lot of pen pals, but I don't know, man. I don't know.
Yeah. He'd still be alone and probably not more scared, to be honest.
Yeah, a little bit more because now he
A
had.
little bit more scared. Can't
and
go to
and
the
and
grocery
it, and
store.
isn't that also sad? Like,
Yeah. You can't go to the grocery store without seeing a black man.
yeah, and he would be like, "Oh my god, I can't buy grain," and it's like, "Oh come on, chill out, Lovecraft. It's just a black person." It's like, it's like, but it's a black person. I was like, come on, dude, what the fuck? You're acting like an alt writer now. Are you a Nazi? What are Nazis? Ah, fuck off. That's not no, but really, but as a as you, I don't know, you don't read book. I mean, you read medical books because you study. Uh,
Here and then. I try to read more. I should read more, but I never get around.
but you
But I
ever,
want.
read like if you can read, I would say, can you if you can read, read Stephen King's To Write. It's
Hmm.
like a biography,
Oh,
sort
right.
of,
Hmm.
but it's also his, tip guide how to write.
Hmm.
But it's a lot of biography in that because he
Hmm.
talks about different authors and styles of writing and the
Right,
styles
right.
he chooses writing and why he writes like he does,
Hmm.
and it gives a really big perspective into the horror genre and how you can write in mundane things into horror,
Hmm.
like he wrote The Mist, right? And
Yeah.
that is just a couple of gang mounted up in a store, and like nothing really happens. But how do you write a horror in that
Yeah.
setting?
Hmm.
And it's a really interesting book. I think that more should read it. Maybe I think that
Hmm.
that is good. I know you got the Necronomicon, and that is a great read
Yeah.
as well.
I bet. I bet.
You should read that
Need to get
too.
on that ASAP.
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 It got some short novel. I argue that if you open it and you look at the introduction of it, you get the different novels and the pages they're on, and you can choose, the shorter novels that are like 20 pages or whatever, and skim through them, and then you get like some taste to it, and then I think you get into reading longer ones. My personal favorite is always At the Mountains of Madness.
Hmm.
I love that novel. It's great, and BBC has done a great
Wait, you mean novel or short story?
yeah,
Novella.
I think technically it's a short story.
Right.
It's what, 140 pages,
Maybe
something.
novella then. Novella.
Yeah, a novella.
Maybe.
At the Mountains of Madness.
Yeah.
And BBC has done a book reading of that. That is a theatrical, like, theater piece that is really
Huh.
good if you want to listen to it.
Yeah,
It's
sure.
it's
Probably.
really good, but the novella, let's call it the novella, is
Sure.
really good. That is like
Yeah.
Lovecraft peak. Like
Hmm.
it's that good. It's
Hmm.
that good. And after you read that, you get into the rest and get used to his wording a
Yeah.
bit.
Yeah. I see. I see. Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll definitely take a note of that.
Yeah. Well, I would say that that would be it for tonight. I want to thank you,
Sure. Thank you.
Sikasal, for coming here. I
It
really
was
appreciate it.
pretty fun. Yeah, really
Yeah,
fun.
I really appreciate you coming here and talking to me. And I
No
will be
worries.
back with this podcast. I will be back next Thursday. But if you, I will link to you in the chat for your Twitter and
Thank you.
stuff like that.
Plug.
You don't have a YouTube channel that I know
No,
of.
no,
And you probably, if you did have, you probably didn't want me to know of it. And
no. Wow.
no, I'm just kidding. But I will link you to your Twitter, and I would thank you for coming on. It was fun to
Sure.
chat.
Yeah. Thank you. Follow me for memes, everyone. Thank you.
Yeah, he has dank memes. Follow him for dank memes. I would thank you, Apostrophe, for coming on here. I really appreciate
Yes.
it.
Thank you. Thank
I
you very
will
much.
see you around.
It's been great. Yeah. Let's do that.
Yeah.
See you
And
around. Good night.
good night. Bye.
Bye.
And with that, I will end this podcast. Have a good time, everyone. I really appreciate you for taking your time and coming out and listen to us discussing whatever matter is up on topic. I really appreciate it. We will be back next week. I will see you then.